I'm just going to jump right into it today on today's video. Got a lot of updates for you. I've been really working pretty hard on getting this Srt4 engine bay wise back together. I got a big chunk of it done. Probably the most headache part is almost done, so happy about that. Got some new painted parts I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to walk you through how I prepped everything and how I've been cleaning everything up. So I'm going to show you guys real quick what I've been doing. So first I'm going to do the painted part. So this was the trans mount. I don't know if you guys remember this, but this thing I had to cut in one video. If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. But I cut the ears off of this because this also holds the battery tray and the battery on top of it. And the battery is getting relocated to the back of the trunk. Because of the turbo kit has to go where the battery's at, so that's how you do this. You relocate it. So I ended up cutting the ears that hold the battery tray and the excess metal off of this and made it really clean, and I painted it black. This piece actually goes with the motor mount. It just sits on top for the top motor mount. So that's the big bracket that goes on the side of the motor. This is the bracket for the top motor mount that goes inside the engine bay that you'll see. And then this is the bracket for the PCM. The computer that runs the car is held on by this. So these are the parts I really wanted to get cleaned up because they were just nasty. For some reason, whatever reason, Dodge did not actually paint any of these parts. It's just mainly, like, this was just E-coated, and then the bracket and everything just had paint blown on them, and that was pretty much it. They didn't seal it or anything. So like most of these parts, especially this bracket, it's just E-coat. So from the factory, thing is E-coated and you do not paint it. Such as if you get, let's say you put a new fender on a car and you just don't have the money to paint it, so you just end up bolting it on the car. You know, your car is black, it doesn't look too bad. E-coat is like a chalky flat black color, so you're like, I'll just run it. What happens is, being outside in the sun, that the sun rays, the UV will actually eat through that E-coat. The E-coat is there just to protect the metal for shipping purposes, and give it some type of barrier until it gets painted. So what happens is that sun, the UV protection from the sun, or the UV from the sun will actually eat that, and the protection from the E-coat will just start dwindling away, and it'll start eating at it, and it'll go back to bare metal, and then you're going to have problems. It's going to be corroded. You're going to have to buy another fender. So same way with these. Even though these brackets are hidden from the sun and everything, unless you have your hood open 24/7, they start rusting over time, and you know, bolts, you know, you start taking things on and off all the time. It just chips away at it, and it's really thin, so it's really not good to just have things E-coated. So you want to get them painted and get them running and get everything protected. That way the sun doesn't eat through it. So that's kind of why, I mean, they were nasty. I was going to paint them anyways, but it cleans up a lot of this stuff. It's going to go really well with the engine bay. There's things that are like bracketry that you really don't see, like that computer bracket, the computer bolts onto. You really don't see it unless you're actually looking for it. But I just wanted everything to look clean, look like it's brand new again. So I've started painting these brackets. I've got a few more to paint actually. I've been going through the parts that I've been hanging, you know, that I'm going to be reusing and cleaning them up. These are some of the things I'm going to be reusing. Like this is a bracket that holds on the power, the brake system, the ABS system here. So I've been going around and just cleaning this stuff up, and then like the master cylinder for the brakes, all this stuff I'm going to be reusing. So I'm just going through and cleaning it up. I just pretty much using glass cleaner at doing this. So this I'm thinking about just painting it anyways. I'm going to paint it gloss black, probably just like the rest of the brackets. That way it's nice and new, because you are going to see a lot of this, even though it's down low. And I just want everything to look really, really clean when I go back and put everything back on, because this car has, I think it was almost 150,000 miles on it, so there's a lot of dirt and grime and everything, just like the engine bay. everything had a lot of dirt on it. So I want to go through and clean everything up as best as I can, get it looking as new as I can. Some of the stuff isn't cleaning up. It's just from, you know, dirt and grime over the years and not getting cleaned. So not much I can do about that stuff, but the stuff that I can clean, I'm going to go ahead and clean, and I'm going to show you guys the engine bay. So I've got a lot of the engine bay back together. I've got the harness that pretty much goes to all the lights and everything, all the accessories on the motor, all the battery, all this stuff is ran by this harness. The harness gets plugged into the PCM down below. Got the booster box on for the brakes. Got the clutch slave cylinder on for the hydraulic clutch system. Got the window regulator on that actually moves the wipers, not the window, I don't know why I said window regulator, but this is the wiper regulator that moves the windshield wipers back and forth. I'm just going through and just cleaning all this stuff up. I've been actually rewire looming all this, you'll see. So I went all the way up to like right here, I think is where I ended last time. So I still got a ways to go. I'm just gonna make it look all pretty much new again. So I've got some work cut out for me for there, but I've got the wiring. The wiring actually gets shoved back in this corner back here. I don't know if you guys can see, but it goes way back in the back. So that was the most pain out of all this, because there was like 6 plugs and a couple wires you had to shove through that hole, and they just don't give you enough room. So, and all that stuff goes to like your brake system, all that, you know, your clutch pedal, all that stuff underneath that dash. You got to crawl up under there and get to it and plug it all in. It's just a nightmare. So I'm glad I got that out of the way. The only thing I forgot to do, since we are running the battery inside the car now, I need to cut this off and extend this power wire, and I should have done it when I was running the wire for the car, because all that's got to go back through that hole. So before I get the motor in here, I need to do that. I need to actually extend the wire out for the ground and the positive wire. That way it's all done and set, and I don't have to worry about it. So that's one thing I do need to do before I get the motor back in here, because it's going to be a pain since I've got the booster box and all that stuff in there. I didn't think about it. I should have just done it, because I've got everything to do it. I just, for some reason, spaced it, but that's not a big deal. So you can kind of just see how everything's coming out as far as what it's going to look like. Now, everything as far as nuts and bolts, I am trying to use this little Allen key set type of washer and bolt set. I've had a few of these because these are what I ran for the fender along the side of the hood when the car was green when I first painted it. So I bought a bunch of these. So I had a lot of these left over. So anywhere I can use these, I want to use them, because I think purple and orange goes good together. So I want to do that, and all the bolts that I can actually replace, such as like this one right here, the nut that holds that on, all the bolts and stuff, I'm going to try to go through and replace all that stuff, or brand new stainless steel hardware. I'm going to try to go and just see if my local hardware store has all that stuff, because I don't want to put the nasty old bolts, because most of them are just, you know, starting to surface rust on them, and you really can't paint. One thing about bolts and nuts and things like that, you really can't paint those, because if you paint them, you go to put them on, your wrench, it's just going to strip the paint right off of it. I don't care how careful you are. I've tried it many times. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can get them powder coated. If you really want to take that time and effort, have your powder coater powder coat them, but you still run that risk of chipping them because you are going to be taking them on and off the car essentially all the time, if not once by putting them on. So you just run that risk of chipping them. So I'm just going to try to do all stainless steel hardware, such as like this bolt. This bolt, it's just, you know, putting this back in the car is not going to really, it's going to go right in here. So that's just not going to work. Same way with that nut. So I'm going to do all that and get all that running. That's going to be the tedious stuff, is getting all that stuff situated and figured out and putting it back on the car and putting it back together. But I also got a lot of parts in today. So I'm going to show you guys what I ordered and what's coming that's going to be brand new. So on these cars, obviously the front wheel drive, so your cross member, your subframe holds your power steering, your lower sway bar, your link ends, your inner and outer tie rods, control arms, all that stuff, your knuckles, all that stuff. I am pretty much replacing everything on that. The only things I'm not replacing is the front sway bar that's underneath the subframe. I don't think I need to replace that. I mean, I might do the rear one, but the front one, I don't know. I haven't really dug and researched and see if it's going to make a big difference on the car if I replace that or not. So, but I am going to the end links for the sway bar. I am going to replace. Just like I said, this stuff's got 150,000 miles on them almost. So, like these things are just they're shot. But the sway bar itself is it's all right. I mean, it's a big chunk of metal. Like, what can you say? That's not bad. I might even go ahead and paint that black just to get it painted and look nice. Again, you're not going to see it because it goes underneath this thing, so you don't see it unless you're under the car, so I'm not really worried about it. I pretty much stripped off everything off this subframe, and I took it and I cleaned it and I greased it out and made sure everything was clean on it. I've been debating on painting this as well. If I did paint it, I'd probably go back black or like a bright silver, because you're not going to see it. The motor's going to hide a lot of this stuff, but if you are looking in the car, you might see a little bit of it. So I've just been debating on doing it or not. I mean, it's got some surface rust. Most of these subframes, they're going to have surface rust on them and things like that. It's just, it's an older car. It's got a lot of miles on it, driven all through the season. So yeah, I've got everything tore apart over there. The rack and pinions off, and it's got the inner and outer tie rods. This is actually getting replaced as well. I just don't have it here. Is this steering rack, because this was melted through because of the old exhaust system. It blew, the wastegate dump blew right on top of this, so it got hot and just melted it. So, like in my head, it's got 150,000 miles on it. Does it leak? No, but it's off the car right now. You might as well go ahead and replace it while you're at it. Make it easier on yourself. It's like $170, $880 to get a new one. So I'm like, and it comes with the inner tie rods already on. You just got to put the outers on. So it'd make it a lot easier. It'd look a lot cleaner just to have a new one. The new one actually comes polished. The performance one that you grab is actually polished, so it would look kind of good. Even though you're not going to see a lot of this stuff, it's still in the back of my head. I'm here, you might as well do it. It's one of those things like, where do you stop, right? Control arms, the old control arms, you can see they're just nasty, corroded. The bushings are corroded on them. Was the car driving, it didn't have any effect on the car that I noticed when I was driving it in the past, but it's just one of those things. It's like, you're here, you might as well do it. You've got everything tore apart. Do it now, because once it's in the car and the motor's in the car, it's more of a pain to do it. So I went ahead and ordered brand new control arms. These are Moog, the best brand you can buy for these as far as aftermarket parts or refurbished parts. Brand new control arms left and right. I got brand new outer tie rods. So the tie rod situation will be new. The control arm situation will be brand new. I also got the motor mounts. If you guys watched one of my last videos, I went over the motor mount that was in the car, and it was in like 3 pieces. So I went ahead and bought the center motor mount. And what this does, it pretty much holds this side of the motor on the passenger side. So it actually goes inside the frame rail, and it bolts, the bolt goes all the way through there, and it holds the motor on this side. So that's how that works out. So it's one of those things that this needed replaced, and then I went ahead and bought all brand new motor mounts for this car. So these are Stiffer mounts, you know, they're made for stiffer. There's a lot of vibration in these cars, and this kind of helps this car out. It had these on there before. I'm going to show you guys what the old ones look like. This is for massive. I went ahead and just got the flat textured black, just because I think it would look good. All the other colors, they had a purple with silver lettering on it, or decal on it. It just, I don't know, that purple just didn't, it was a different kind of purple than what's going to be on the car, so I didn't want to chance myself and have to repaint a brand new motor mount. So I just went the safe route and got the flat black ones. I think I'll look all right. But this is the old one. This is one of the old ones. They're just, you know, the center fell out of it. They're corroded. You know, you can take your old mounts. I could have taken these, bought new bushings for them. They sell a bushing kit, but you can just look how rotted that is. There's no wonder why the mount, you know, the car shook as bad as it did, but you can buy a new bushing kit for these. And I was going to do that and just paint my old ones, but by the time you do that, I think the bushing kit was going to be like $90 shipped. And by the time you do that, you're already at, and me painting them, already at 150, 160 bucks. So I just bit the bullet and spent the extra 40, 50 bucks and bought brand new of everything. In my mind, it's just easier that way. It's less work on me, and I know they're brand new. I don't have to worry about painting them, making them look good. Just one less detail I don't have to worry about. I'm pretty busy already, so I'm trying to simplify everything and not make it so hard to get this thing back together. So, and plus I can sell those old mounts just as mounts without the bushings to somebody for probably 80 bucks. So I can make money off the old ones and get them out of here. Somebody could use them. Somebody could spend the $80 and buy new bushings for them and stick them on their car. That's what a lot of people do on these, is buy those stiffer mounts. That helps a lot of the vibration issues these cars have. It helps out a lot. So the center mount, I went the OEM style because I talked to a few people. You can buy a stiffer mount for that side mount that holds that motor on. And a lot of people said it just causes a lot of bad vibration in the car. So if you drive it a lot, they said it's really not easy to deal with as far as driving wise goes. It's just a lot of vibration noise. So I stuck with the OEM. Everybody said the OEM style one, it feels a lot better. It doesn't create as much vibration. So that's why I bought just the original OEM version one. You can't buy a lot of these parts for these cars. You cannot buy anymore. You got to either go aftermarket, or you got to a lot of companies will make aftermarket OE style part. So you got to go either or. So I chose that route. But yeah, I just want to show you guys a little bit of what I'm doing. My next thing on the car is I've got to finish hooking up the brake stuff. I got to finish all this, hooking all up from inside the car. I've got a little bit left over to do as far as like the gas pedal. I've got to get it hooked up to the cable line that goes to the throttle body. I've got to do all that there's just a bunch of little stuff I got to do, but I'm probably going to go ahead and install the control arms on the subframe here, get those bolted on. That way when the power steering rack comes in, the rack and pinion set, I can just mount it on there, throw it underneath the car, and be off. And then once I do that, I can start kind of bolting on the coilovers, the knuckles. Oh yeah, the knuckles, I've decided I'm going to try to do, I've got to call a company, but the Ackerman knuckles, they make some for these. I've got to call a company that does it though, which means Ackerman's a term where the steering, you can actually turn the car more, and they kind of turn at the same time, the same angle. These cars are notorious for their bad turning radius. You can't just turn the car and expect it to do like a full U-turn. You gotta give yourself enough room to be able to turn this car. So that will eliminate that. So I just got to call the company, see if they can make some pretty quickly, because I want to get this thing to where I can get the tires on it and move it around in the shop, because I've got some projects coming in this weekend actually that I need to use the paint booth area. If I can't, it's not a big deal. I can cover the car up with plastic, but I'm trying to get this thing to where I actually can move it around without the motor in it. So that I have to get that subframe, all the suspension stuff on there, and the knuckles, because I've got to put on my brand new, I don't know if I showed you guys these either, but it is getting brand new center hubs and bearings for knuckles. So these are going to be brand new. I've got to punch out these bolts because they're going to get extended. Because of the wheels I have on this car, they have to be extended to grab them. I've been running stock lug nuts on these cars and lug bolts, which is not good. I've stripped some of them off, so I got to do all that. So all that stuff's got to get pressed into the knuckle. So I knuckle here to do all that. So I got to call them. I'm actually going to call them tonight and see how fast they can get me a pair of knuckles. So everything, like I said, everything's getting replaced. It's going to look really good once it's in the car. The car should handle a lot better having new parts on it, so I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. So I just want to give you guys an update video of where I'm at and what I've been doing. Don't really have any paint projects that I'm currently doing. I've got the tank for the Mazda the customer dropped off. This has got to get painted. So this is going to be a video in itself, I think, if I can find the time to settle down and do it between another customer and this one being in here. So I'm going to try to get this thing done within the next week or two. It's getting graphics. It's getting body colored. Then it's going to get graphics just like the truck. So it's going to be a little bit of a project to get this thing done. It's going to get pinstriped, all that stuff. So the motor-wise on this, I'm jumping back and forth to the neon now. So the motor, I've been actually cleaning this thing up. I used Purple Power I think it's Purple Power. Yeah, Purple Power degreaser on this. And I've just been cleaning the crap out of it. There's a bunch of gunked up degreaser and oil and everything on this thing. So I'm trying to go through here and just clean this thing up the best I can before I stick it in the car. It's just going to make my life easier, but I've just been squirting it down, letting it sit, and then taking a Scotch-Brite. I've got a Scotch-Brite in this bucket, and I've just been Scotch-Briting everything off and just trying to clean everything up. And then it's not going to look brand new, which I didn't expect it to, but I need to get it at least a little bit better than what it is. It's going to get a new starter. Figured might as well put a new starter on it, as well as the alternator. Since, like I said, since it's here already, the car's got 150,000 miles on it. These are the OEM, so they need to get replaced. Because the starter is not bad. When the motor's in the car, if you got to do the starter on these cars, it's not bad. But the alternator is a nightmare. So the alternator is definitely one of those things I need to replace once it's out of the car. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break apart this transmission to see what's inside as far as the clutch, the fork, and the ball that holds all that stuff together for the clutch. I'm going to see what's inside this case. So I want to see what's on the motor. So I'm going to replace all that stuff too. So it's going to get a brand new clutch before it goes back in the car. So there's just a bunch of things that I need to get done on this thing and get it apart and just checked out, check everything before it goes back in the car, because transmission's not bad to do in the car if you have a hoist, but it's not fun either. So since the car's apart, everything else like that, I want to get all that checked out, things like that, get it all get it all sorted out. It's a lot of money. It's not cheap, I'll tell you that much, but it's one of those things in the back of your head, like, you might as well do it, do it the right way since you have it out all over the place and just get it done. So yeah, I'll just show you guys update videos from now on until I get something in here painted, and then I might chime in on one at the end of it, show you guys some other things. If you want to know more or see more of this stuff, or see me actually doing this stuff, let me know. I'll make a video on that as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, other than that, I've just been grinding away at getting all this stuff put back together and cleaned up. So I'm really excited to get the motor in the car and get it actually running, where I can actually push it around to where I'm actually trying to get the turbo kit on it. Because once the motor's in the car and the turbo kit's on and everything's just cleaned up the way it needs to be, all the new bolts and everything, it's going to look really, really sharp. I know the car is green right now, green and purple. It looked funny, but we are redoing the car as well. So this is all future plans for the future. So you want to do it now rather than doing it later. So all I've got to worry about is the body of the car. But I'm going to drive this around for a little bit like this. I'm going to enjoy the car until it, because that's going to take me probably another month and a half just to do the body of the car. It took me 2 months last time just because of the bad body work that was on it and the bad paint job I had to strip off. But this time should be a little bit easier. But the car is going to go orange. It's going to have a paint scheme on it. As far as graphics go, it's going to have graphics on the car. So really excited about that. It's going to be, in my opinion, better than what is on here currently. Everybody loves the green and the purple and the silver and what I did to it on this, but with being ran off the road last year, I was ran into a ditch, and the front end, as far as the bumper, the fenders, and some of the parts of the doors and the rockers, it really messed up the paint on it. So I want to go ahead and just fix it all, redo it, and just be done with it and get it looking like one. So I'm going to start cranking on this stuff. If I have anything else to show you guys, I'll chime back in. But then I'll see you next time.